And welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show on the BMG Network, on YouTube at the BMG channel there, and also on major podcast platforms. Thank you so much for taking this time to sit down and have a little conversation with Adrienne. All right, let's have this conversation. This conversation is going to be about the Academy Awards, the whole situation with Will Smith and Chris Rock. And you might be thinking, please, no, I have had it up to here with that. But I'm hoping that I'm going to give you a different perspective, along with some examples, some things that perhaps you've not thought about, okay? So I'm going to present some things to you, and you can take it as food for thought and see what your mind, how you wrap your mind around what I want to share today. I have a column, if you don't know. It's called My View, My Voice. It's at adriennerosscolumn.com. And my last column was about the situation with Will Smith, but it's not exactly what I'm talking about today. It was about the fact that there are people who are going around stating that it was a sham. It was the smack. The Chris Rock getting smacked by Will Smith was all for the camera, that it was, if you will, fake news. And my column presented the view that, no, I don't believe that this was fake. I do believe it was real. And so I explained why I thought it was real. And so I'm just going to recap a little bit before I get into what we're talking about today. Now, I'm sure you've seen the footage over and over and over, okay? So you know that Chris Rock, the comedian, had a joke that had to do with Jada Pinkett Smith, who was, of course, Will Smith's wife, okay? And after that, all Hades broke loose, okay? So just to refresh our memory, here's the joke.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? that was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
Okay. So there you have it. The G.I. Jane 2 joke. Now, if you've watched carefully, you'll notice that Will Smith, he laughs. His initial reaction to the joke by the comedian was to laugh. We then see on camera that there's somebody not laughing, and that's Jada Pinkett Smith. And of course, you've heard that, you know, she has alopecia, and so this joke about baldness was not appreciated by her. But again, her husband sitting there near her laughed. Will Smith, the entertainer, he laughed. But then we lose sight of them because the camera moves, right? And the next thing you know, Will Smith is basically, you know, storming the stage. Chris Rock kind of jokes about it, laughs about it, about it. And then he gets a slap to the face from Will Smith. We know that. Will Smith goes back, sits down, and then he has some choice comments with, you know, the F-bomb, basically telling Chris Rock to keep his, you know, his wife's name out of his mouth. And he used, like, as I said, he dropped some something. All right. Again, people are saying that this was all staged. I don't believe it's staged. Okay. I believe that what we saw was the real deal right there, was the real reaction. Now, why? First of all, if it were planned, if this were a pre-planned performance, okay, there would have been no laughter from Will Smith because he would have been in a role, and his role would have been to be furious at this joke. right? So the laughter would not have been there because that would have been out of the character, out of what they were trying to display, to showcase to the audience. So right there, I mean, that it just makes no sense. So what we did see though was his initial reaction, which was that it was a joke and that it was funny, he thought, and so he laughed. Now, what transpired between the laughter and the smack, I don't know, but many people think that perhaps Jada gave him, as I said in my column, you know, she gave him the look or the word or the whatever to let him know this wasn't going to work. And you, as my husband, better do something. I don't know. I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. I wasn't there. But something happened because he clearly thought it was funny. Not only that, we know that he finds stuff like that funny because I heard on the Michael Knowles show, I heard Will Smith, he played audio of Will Smith several years ago making that same kind of joke about a musician who also had alopecia. So he commented about it and he even said, you know what, I'm going to stop right here and I'm going to let you hear what Will Smith said several years ago, which was so much like what Chris Rock said. Check it out.
Now it's even more embarrassing for Will Smith because a clip has just come out of Will Smith on the Arsenio Hall show some years ago, in which he himself makes a joke about a guy who is bald because he's got alopecia.
He has a rule. The bass player, he got a rule. He got to wax his head every morning. That's a rule. He follows the rules, man. He follows the rules. Oh, these are jokes. Come on. See, you got too into the characters and got hurt.
It's like deja vu, right? It's like deja vu. It's pretty much the same thing. He even says, Will Smith even says then, it's just a joke. So we know the laughter that we saw at the Academy Awards, we know that was real because he thought it was funny. Not that long ago, apparently, a few years ago. I don't know the date, but he thought it was funny. And it was the same situation about someone's baldness. But for some reason, after his laughter this time, he gets up and he storms the stage. Now, and the whole thing is it's so ridiculous because so many people are so many people think that Will Smith did the right thing. So many people are applauding and so many people are saying, well, that's the right thing to do to defend your wife. No, that's not the right thing to do to defend your wife. I mean, and then you're going to talk about showing love and all the stuff. And I understand now that he's probably got the revelation that his actions were wrong, et cetera, et cetera. But to defend that, no. If you want to sit there and you want to say, listen, stop it. Keep my wife's name out of your mouth. If he wants to do that's one thing, but to put your hands on someone like that, you're just out of control. And something transpired between you. So I'm reiterating, that was real. That was no fake stuff right there. But why it happened, we don't know. Because he clearly thought it was funny and obviously appreciated the comedy of it. But obviously Jada didn't, and so something went down. All right. Here's what I really want to get into today, now that we've kind of gone back. I want to get into the fact that I want to make this a political, I hate to say make this a political thing, but it really is political. Because as well as I know, if you're honest, okay, so I believe the people on the right side of the political aisle will be honest and say, yeah, we see what you're saying. Now, if you're on the left, I'm asking you to be honest too, because even you should see what I'm about to say. Okay? Conservatives are the butt of all kinds of jokes and all kinds of comments. It's true. All kinds of insults. Conservatives get it, and they get it hard. Okay? What if conservatives chose to respond in the way that Will Smith responded? For whatever reason, he responded that way. What if conservatives went on the attack against words, jokes, comments, all that stuff that they deal with, that we deal with on the regular. Let me tell you what would happen. There would be slapped bodies lying on the floor and on the ground all over the place. Because if we took matters into our own hands because of words that were spoken, we'd be smacking up everybody. And everybody would be saying, oh, those conservatives, they're wrong. Those conservatives are weak. Those conservatives are violent. All the things that they always say, that they want to say, are inclined to say about conservatives, they would say. And we know it's true. And if you deny it, you're lying to yourself. There's no deception like self-deception. So a conservative is supposed to, handle it. Suck it up, buttercup, right? We don't get to go around smacking people who just say whatever they want to say. And some of it, you got to be able to take it because it's, some of it's funny, maybe some of it's comedy. Some of it is over the top. And yet a conservative would be expected to deal with it. And they would not be excusing it. The left would not be excusing it, as most perhaps are excusing Will Smith. Now, of course, there are some who are speaking out. Jim Carrey being one who's been very vocal about that. But many people are like, yeah, right on. Even people that I think should know better. People that I know. I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? So let's go through some of the things that, conservatives deal with. And listen, a comedian is a comedian is a comedian. That's how comedians make money. They make jokes, even though at times they do cross the line. Some of it's just funny. And if you don't think it's funny, it's still, they're comedians, and that's what they do, right? And but yet some of the comments that conservatives deal with are not jokes. They're not from comedians. They're from people who are speaking in their official capacities, whatever it is they do, whoever it is they are, and they're speaking what they believe is true. They're not just making a funny. They're speaking what they believe is true, which is insulting, which at many times is hurtful, and many times just crosses the line. Right? So whether we're talking about jokes or whether we're talking about comments that people actually mean, as a conservative, you are not afforded to do what Will Smith did. And I'm not saying you should do it. You shouldn't be putting your hands on anybody, period, no matter what they say. But if you were so inclined, you wouldn't be able to get away with it like Will Smith does, because there's such hypocrisy out there. So let's just look at a few examples. We're going to start with Sarah Palin. The former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, the former vice presidential nominee, who accepted the opportunity to serve our nation as vice president, who served Alaska very well with more than a 90% approval rating, and who didn't deserve the treatment that she received and the insults that she received that were over the top. Again, if you've got a comedian who, stays within the lines and all, that's one thing. But when you start pouring out what she has gone through and what has been said about her and said about her family, who didn't sign up for this, ugly, vile things. What if she and her family have demonstrated incredible restraint. If we were to cheer anybody on to smack up a few people, it would be them. It would be the Palin family. And we don't advocate that. We don't advocate for that, and we don't condone that, right? So I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying that there's this double standard. If conservatives just did whatever they wanted to do, lots of people would have been smacked around just from Sarah Palin and her family. So I want you to listen to this. I'm talking about vile things. Think of Bill Maher. Okay, and you're gonna hear this. You're gonna hear some of the things that he has to say. But he's a comedian, right? So should he get smacked up? Even though there is a time when you just cross the line. And Bill Maher, he has crossed the line. He crossed the line many times. The C word, he's called her. The T word, you'll see what that is if you don't remember. Some other stuff, and about her family, about her children. We've got Letterman. You'll see, you'll hear this too. Letterman and the whole situation he went through when he didn't get his facts straight and basically talked about statutory rape with her 14-year-old daughter and a grown man. So check this out, and then let's talk some more.
Hi, Bill Maher here. Sarah Palin agreed to do commentary at Fox News, which is actually very similar to her day job, talking to a baby with Down syndrome.
Speaking of dumb
It's not because they have breasts, it's because they are boobs.
I hope Sarah Palin gets in so that they split the MILF vote.
That's not sexist.
I would like to announce a donation to the Obama Super PAC.
I thought about Malia and Sasha. I want them to be able to speak their mind in a civil and thoughtful way, and I don't want them attacked or called horrible names because they're being good citizens.
I would like to give that PAC $1 million.
Sarah Palin, a strange family of inbred weirdos. She fucked Levi over and over until a baby fell out. The Maverick and the MILF. They fined CBS $1 million for Janet Jackson's nipple. Think what they could get for Hillary Clinton's cunt. That's not sexist.
All decent folks can agree the remarks that were made don't have any place in the public discourse.
She is the chair of the Democratic National Committee.
I don't know any woman in America that thinks that being called a slut is funny.
Please welcome Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Being part of a democracy involves argument and disagreements and debate, and there's a way to do it that doesn't involve you being demeaned and insulted.
Speaking of dumb
This is a Category 5 moron we have on our hands, and I am unapologetic.
Top 10 highlights of Sarah Palin's trip to New York City. Number 2, bought makeup at Bloomingdale's to update her slutty flight attendant look.
I'm going to try to lead by example.
During the 7th inning, her daughter was knocked up by Alex Rodriguez.
To send a message to all our young people, I'm going to try to lead by example.
Speaking of dumb twats,
Maher decided to help President Obama out and give him a financial boost.
He's donated $1 million.
last week I said goodbye to $1 million.
I made a contribution to Obama's super PAC.
This ends up being a teachable moment.
I wouldn't put anything past this stupid country.
All decent folks can agree the remarks that were made don't have any place in the public discourse. I'm going to try to lead by example in this situation.
I hope you weren't eating while you were taking that in, because that's enough to make you sick to your stomach and vomit. Okay? And some people would say, well, these people are comedians or whatever. Listen, it's not just comedians either. I mean, you got Bill Maher being Bill Maher. You know, Cher also called Sarah Palin the C word. So again, whether it's a comedian or whether it's other people acting in their official capacities that say things that are over the top, what if a conservative had done what Will Smith did? It would not be smiled upon even and applauded that we're seeing. And it shouldn't be, because you can be over the top and I can still exercise restraint, right? And I should, even though you're vile and disgusting and you should be called out. But when a conservative calls it out, it's like, oh, get over it. The situation with David Letterman talking about Alex Rodriguez, knocking up Sarah Palin's daughter. And then people want to say, oh, just get over it. Well, at the Yankees game, after which he made those comments, it was Willow Palin, not Bristol Palin, and Willow was 14. He said, I thought that it was Bristol, and he apologized. He called it coarse, and he said he was wrong and everything. So I want to say that. He should have had his facts straight. I mean, you're going to be a comedian, you get out there, you should know who you're talking about. But he said he thought it was the 18-year-old. I'm not sure being 18 makes it any better. I mean, 18, yes, she's grown, but she's still a young lady, and you're talking about her being knocked up by this basic, compared to her, this old man. Alex Rodriguez, it was just inappropriate. right? But, he's an entertainer. He does that. Okay, so he doesn't get smacked. Maybe if Will Smith was around, maybe he would have gotten smacked. I don't know. Maybe if Jada was around, she'd have made sure that he got smacked. But she wasn't entitled to even complain about it, if you want to call it complaining, to stand up for your daughter. They want to call it complaining and whining? Really? You're talking about a 14-year-old, because it was the 14-year-old. But again, I think it would be just as inappropriate had it been about Bristol at 18. And you can, you heard some other comments concerning her family, right? So there's that. And then you've got Michelle Wolf at the White House Correspondents' Dinner several years ago, going after Sarah Huckabee Sanders about her appearance, the press secretary. So she's fair game because she's a conservative. What if she smacked up? What if she stormed Michelle Wolf at that podium, smacked her up? Now, that particular cut, you may think is, not so much over the top. Certainly, perhaps doesn't fall into the category of the things that were said about Sarah Palin. And so you can decide, as you listen to this right now, whether you think this was over the top or not, as it insults while she's sitting right there. And the look on her face is just enough to, tear your heart out, because it's just mean, to use that word. It's just mean. But is it over the top? You have to decide. In any case, she didn't storm the podium. Take a listen.
And of course, we have Sarah Huckabee Sanders. We are graced with Sarah's presence tonight. I have to say, I'm a little starstruck. I love you as Aunt Lydia on The Handmaid's Tale. Mike Pence, if you haven't seen it, you would love it. Every time Sarah steps up to the podium, I get excited because I'm not really sure what we're gonna get. A press briefing, a bunch of lies, or divided into softball teams. It's shirts and skins, and this time don't be such a little bitch, Jim Acosta. I actually really like Sarah. I think she's very resourceful. Like, she burns facts, and then she uses that ash to create a perfect smoky eye. Like, maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's lies. It's probably lies. And I'm never really sure what to call Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Is it Sarah Sanders? Is it Sarah Huckabee Sanders? Is it Cousin Huckabee? Is it Auntie Huckabee Sanders? Like, what's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women? Oh, I know, Aunt Coulter.
Okay, so again, you decide whether that was over the top or not. I didn't personally find it funny, but a lot of these and the screeching voice, I just want to run, But or is that over the top on my part to say that? Oh, I don't know. The voice was just made it even worse. I didn't find it funny, and it was hurtful, no doubt. But you decide whether it's over the top or not. Either way, again, she would not have been afforded to just run up, and smack on people. And like I said, with all the insults that conservatives endure, if we were to smack up people, if they were to be smacking up people who said something that they don't like, there'd be people lying all over the place, on the floor, on the ground, because it happens all the time. And we're expected to deal with it and be mature about it, right? That's what we're expected. And so, let's even talk about this example. I mean, as a Black conservative myself, I've heard the insults about you're an Aunt Jemima. If you're a dude, if you're a Black dude and you're a conservative, then what? You're an Uncle Tom, right? They throw these things out. You might remember Michael Steele, who was the RNC, Republican National, the GOP chairman at a time. And we know the story, or you may know the story, maybe you don't. but the story about how when he was running for lieutenant governor, I believe, after a debate, people tossed Oreo cookies near him. There was a whole conversation. Some people say, "Oh, that never happened. We never saw any cookies." He should know. And then apparently they didn't hit. It didn't hit him, but he said it landed. He shared the story that the cookies landed at his feet. Why the Oreo cookies? Well, I'm sure you get it, because he was black. Because he's black and a Republican, then he's he's an Oreo. He's black on the outside, or he's white on the inside. Same stuff that they say about Justice Clarence Thomas. The same thing. What if he went around smacking up people? Michael Steele. What if he got outraged and started smacking up people who were basically calling him an Oreo, even if they didn't say it with their mouth? They were demonstrating that. What if he did that? Again, conservatives, black conservatives, and otherwise, we would be smacking everybody all the time. Not everybody, obviously, because not everybody's that way, but you understand what I'm saying. I'm saying that loosely. We would be slapping a whole lot of folks. We'd be going Will Smith on a whole lot of people. The whole Oreo thing, the Aunt Jemima thing, the Uncle Tom thing, the insult to basically say that we have to think a certain way, or we're subject to your insults, whether you're a comedian or whether you're actually not a comedian and saying exactly what you think, as many people do. And yet we're expected to applaud Will Smith for what he did. And Chris Rock should have, and I don't even think Chris Rock's comment was, that's not one that was over the top as far as I'm concerned. I don't think so. I mean, you might disagree, and that's okay. You don't have to agree with me, but it wasn't even all that. And obviously it seemed funny to Will Smith. So there's that. And then of course Donald Trump, he'd be smacking everybody. Comments about him. Comments about, since we're talking about the race thing, calling him a racist, as many conservatives are called. I've been called a self-hating black person. Others, I mentioned Sarah Palin, she's been accused of being racist. Donald Trump, over and over and over again. And the left loves to do that. Democrats run that all the time. That's over the top. If we had a smack for every one of these politicians, which we of course shouldn't have, but if we did, there'd be all kinds of welts on people's faces and red marks on their mouths and all this stuff. So I just want to point that out, that the fact that you just can't go around responding like that, and like Will Smith did, and you shouldn't applaud him if he does it, and you should have the courage to stand up and say this is wrong. And you should also have the courage to say that, you know what, the conservatives are dealing with this on the regular, and yet they show incredible restraint, as they should. And we can again have a conversation about inappropriate comments. If you think certain comments are inappropriate, you're entitled to that. What you're not entitled to is to act out violently. That's not what you're allowed to do, even if the person is wrong. And I don't think Chris Rock was I don't think that was such a big deal necessarily, but even if it is a big deal and you feel that way, again, you're not entitled to be a Will Smith. I don't care if you got a Jada Pinkett Smith next to you. I don't care if she gave you the evil eye. It's just not right. But they get away with it. And people think it's okay because they're cowards. And I say they're cowards, because, well, they are cowards because they're not even, many of them not even speaking out. Maybe they feel it's wrong, and yet they are going to pretend that it's okay because they want to be in the cool group. And so they're cowards because they don't want to stand up. They don't want to stand alone, But they're also partisan. And nothing trumps their party, I guess. But conservatives, you're supposed to just take it. And it's a good thing you do. Because if you responded every time you are insulted by a comedian or a person, not a comedian, just telling what they think, which amounts to, in many cases, nothing worth listening to, that if you responded, it would be a mess. And the mess would be all over the place. And we'd be stepping over smacked folks. But hypocrisy, it's absolutely glaring. So again, I wanted to just offer you some food for thought. And I hope, again, if you're listening, and I do hope that I'm not just preaching to the choir, so I do hope that there are people who are listening who are not necessarily conservatives, not necessarily, inclined to think maybe as I think, but you're willing to tune in and to engage. You got to be honest. If you're honest, you got to say, you know what, Adrienne, I don't believe in the right. I'm not one of the people on the right side of the aisle. I'm a leftist. I'm a progressive, quote unquote progressive, etc. But you're right. If conservatives are getting it, they're getting it, and yet they're not allowed to do what Will Smith did, and they shouldn't be. But admit it, because it's true. We've got to suck it up, right? Yeah, can't be going around smacking people up and then having people, wimpy people, say it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay at all. So thank you for tuning into the Adrienne Ross Show. And if you enjoy the Adrienne Ross Show, would you please leave a rating, a 5-star rating, five-star rating, and a review wherever you listen, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're allowed to leave a rating and review. It would be much, much, much appreciated. And please go to the BMG Network. That's the BMGnetwork.com, and check out the other podcasts that we have. As I always say, our podcasts are enlightening, they're informative, they're engaging, and even entertaining. And so go check that out, please. And you can go to Facebook to the BMG Network, and you can also comment and leave a review over there. We'd much, much, much appreciate it. So catch AdrienneRossColumn.com and subscribe there. Go to my website, AdrienneRossCom.com. Leave me an email at AdrienneRossCom@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe. Be sure to share with other people as well. All right? I will catch you next time on the Adrienne Ross Show. God bless you abundantly. The Adrienne Ross Show was produced and edited in the BMG studio. The music was provided by Kevin MacLeod. Find more episodes of the Adrienne Ross Show at thebmgnetwork.com and major podcast platforms. Be sure to tune in regularly. You don't want to miss even one episode.